Okay, welcome to another kind of episode. Today I've got Shona with me, and I'd like to talk to Shona about homeschooling, because this is something, a road that you've decided to go down yourself. And it's a new thing. You've how many kids have you got?
I've got 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and actually 12 years ago when I was pregnant with my first child, it was very much in the forefront of my brain that I wasn't ever going to send her to school, because I didn't like schooling, and I didn't like the experience that I had as a child going to school, and all the way through up until I was an adult, young adult. And I was adamant that my child would never have to go through that. And then we found an alternative school, which was kind of new in my sphere. I didn't really know that they existed, so I was really excited to find out that there's schools out there that don't follow that normal kind of, curriculum paradigm. So they have to follow the curriculum because that's the law, but they've got different ways of going about it. So I got her into this alternative school, which was very much inclusive and very much about child-centred learning and allowing the child to direct kind of where the learning goes in the classroom.
Gotcha, so kind of going with the natural progressions of the child as they kind of go through their learning stages and stuff. So similar somewhat to Montessori, or along those lines? Or?
Well, Montessori is all about providing kids with a massive plethora of activities and games and lessons that they need to learn, and each individual child then goes and does their learning on their own. So it's not a classroom learning environment. That's what I understand it to be.
Gotcha, yeah. So it's a little bit more freeform kind of thing.
Totally freeform. But there's only kind of 2 rules in a Montessori system. The first rule is that you have to finish whatever you've started. And the second rule is, what's the second rule? I
should know because I used to be a Montessori teacher. We'll breeze over that bit. So
there's basically, it's pretty free, but it's not it's not free play. So it's not really interactive play. There's not a lot of opportunity for kids to play together. It's learning on a solo level. But it is child-centred learning in the sense that they get to choose what they want to learn, and then when they finish that thing, they can move on to the next thing. So it's free in that sense. And
what do you think the benefits are of homeschooling over your standard schooling system? I know of a few myself, but I just want to hear your kind of thoughts on the thing.
Well, it's, like I said to you earlier, it's pretty new for me. But in the research that I've done so far. I'm not even looking at homeschooling, I'm sort of looking at free schooling or unschooling, which is...
unschooling is a term I've heard before as well.
So that's basically, you don't do any kind of lessons. And it speaks to me because my son got, kicked out of a Steiner school, which is, pretty much as alternative as you can get. And that's because he didn't want to sit down and do any work and basically do what somebody else asked him to do.
And let's face it, humans aren't really designed to sit down for so many hours a day. That's the kind of thing. We're kind of humans. We're kind of supposed to be interacting with the world and actually doing something. And that's I think I can speak to most people. That's the best way to learn. Really,
right.
People there's a certain amount of book learning. You can sit down and absorb stuff
if you want to.
If you want it, but
it's free choice, right?
Yeah.
So as an adult, if you were told to sit down and learn stuff that you were fed, not of your own accord, not what you chose, for 6 hours a day, for 12 years of your life as an adult, you would call that prison. But for children, it's called school.
And very similar to the prison system as well.
Very similar. It's all about, and learning. What sort of turned me around into the free schooling and unschooling was learning where education started from and why we started with education institutions right back in the day. It's all about, originally it was all about Catholicism and religion, and learning to read was about learning the scriptures, and learning the scriptures was all about the suppression and the oppression of the people for God's will and God's life, which was basically just organising for the Catholic or the religion to kind of get what they needed to have the power.
And there's a definite model of the industrialised nation.
Exactly, and it moved on from there.
Drones and stuff. And it's not really applicable so much in today's society, really, is it?
Well, I don't know. Is it?
Is it? I think...
I would actually ask people to question that. Is education a form of oppression of the masses? Is it stopping us all from revolting? Are we fed certain education? So that we don't have free thought, we don't have critical thought.
That's true, it's true. I mean, the way that it actually stands at the moment, I've got to quite qualify it with education as such isn't a bad thing. It's just the state-run stuff is a little bit too limiting of like our potential, let's just say.
And you've got to wonder, are you spoon-fed certain information in order for the population to grow to service the needs of those in power?
Whenever you kind of have somebody actually kind of feeding you things, there is a certain amount of like, let's just say that there's an intention to like have a certain message passed on. And
right.
When it's kind of like it's originating from a kind of a state that's actually kind of running the place, a government school, state school as such, is the problem really that I think most people are actually coming to like terms with possibly trying homeschooling and trying all these different unschooling kind of methods, which seem actually so far from what I've actually heard, apart from the social issue which you've overcome, told me before this, in certain ways, it seems to be a little bit more, it seems to stick more with kids really, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately school, in my view now, because it's from the beginning of time, school was developed for that oppression and for that, control of world order, basically, controlling the masses. And so I don't see how all of a sudden it's any different. We are told that we need literacy, but it doesn't take, again, 6 hours a day for 12 years of your life to learn how to read.
Like you said, there's important things, but these things can also be done at home, possibly a little more effectively, going along with the actual pattern, structural kind of learning things of children and stuff.
Well, it's about play. And so unschooling and free schooling is about play, and we learn best through play.
I mean, not only kids, really, adults as well, really.
Exactly, and children are no different to adults, and I think that's where it's really important. The homeschooling and the unschooling, it's really based on that very, very basic premise that children are humans. Just because they're not adults doesn't make them unhuman. They're the same and probably a lot more capable and equipped to learning than adults are. And we undervalue them and we undermine them all the time, and we assume that they don't know things. And we approach children from that perspective. But if you allow a child free play, then they will naturally get drawn to those things which interest them, and they will get absorbed in that, and they will learn that thing over and over again until they've got it right because they want to, not because they're forced to. And that's when you get experts. That's when you get real masters.
And that's really the thing of genius, which we don't really have so much in these days, when you get people actually naturally think out of the box, which is not something we tend to encourage these days. I mean, like even Einstein did pretty badly at school. Really.
Right, he did.
And like
most geniuses did.
Most geniuses, most people who kind of run like successful businesses in the terms of things, always did very badly at school. It begs the question: what are they kind of saying that other people aren't? So just a kind of few thoughts on that, and thanks very much. Actually, that's covered it very.
I could have spoken for hours about
I know, so can I. We're going to try and keep it short because the YouTube nation like to have it short clippings of like information. So, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, cheers.